Hello everyone, welcome to Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives cooking show. My name is Dana Bosselman and I am the Functional and Integrative Dietitian here at Lifescape Premier. I've been doing the show for, I think, coming up on 3 years now because we started it before COVID and onwards. So thank you for those of you that tune in and watch either live or recorded. And today what we're making is a buckwheat noodle salad with a caveat. The caveat is that buckwheat noodles were hard to come by when I was shopping for ingredients. And so I'm using an alternative. This is what I've decided on. The brand is Banza, B-A-N-Z-A. And this is linguine made from chickpeas. And this is a nice talking point to begin the whole process of what we're going to make today, because sometimes our intentions don't actually manifest exactly as we expected, and that's really a theme in cooking in general. Is we have this idea of what we want to do, and then we have to be flexible around what's available or what makes sense at the time. So we're going to enjoy this beautiful dish together. It's very easy to assemble. I would say the hardest part of this dish is just all the chopping and prepping. And that's not hard, it just means that it takes a little bit of time in advance to get ready for that. So I wanted to start off by giving you an overall sense of what we're doing. We're going to take a bunch of different wonderful ingredients and blend them together to make a dressing. And then I've got our cooked and chilled chickpea pasta linguine. And then we're going to toss it all together. So one of the things I want to say about the specialty pastas that are not made from traditional wheat and then thus gluten are that they are really high in protein. They have a really nice chewy texture if you really watch the cooking time. You just don't want to overcook it. This pasta I cooked for 8 minutes, maybe 8.5. Drained it, put cold water over it in the colander, and it's holding up beautifully. So explore a little bit in that realm. So within each food group, we have so many more options now than we used to. And you can look through the pasta section at Sprouts, as all of you know, that's where I like to go. Or even probably Fry's, the big fry store, or of course Whole Foods. And they have pastas made from all kinds of legumes. There's lentils, black bean, edamame. So we can really bring a lot of variety into our diet that way. Different foods, of course, have different nutritional value, and the colors of foods are also really important. I've been talking about that a lot with my patients recently, more than ever, and talking about how you can get color from not just from plants, or produce, from vegetables and fruits, but also you get color in the form of legumes and tea and different grains. So we want to just start expanding that whole mindset of if you're not eating enough vegetable in your day to get that color, you can always work to increase that, but then also thinking about, are there other ways I can do this, like getting a multicolored pasta that's made from a couple single ingredients. So with that being said, we're going to make the sauce, and this is the secret to the dish. It's really what makes everything pop. And so we're going to start off with the rice wine vinegar. And so I'm adding that to the bowl. I'll show this to you guys perfectly in just a few minutes. And then on the ingredient list, I apologize, there was a few errors that went out on the initial send. We corrected those, so you should have a corrected link to get into. And there's 2 different forms of sugar in this recipe. I actually edited that out, and we're going to not do the cane sugar. We're just going to do the other sweetener. So honey and maple syrup can oftentimes be used interchangeably. And what I had on hand was some organic maple syrup. And so we're just going to go ahead and use that because it's available and it's equally fantastic. So adding a little bit of sugar to a dressing is actually critical. We've all been taught don't have sugar, keep adding sugar out, and that's still a good idea when you're looking at processed food. But we have this thing in our mouth it goes by the acronym FAST, and it stands for all the taste buds in our mouth. So it's fat, acid, salt, and sweet. And when you get all four of those together, that's when we'll say, this tastes really good. There's a lot of undertones. So as food hits the tongue, it hits the taste buds in different parts of the tongue and gives us that feedback. So if something's overly salty, then it overrides all the rest of the taste. So we want a little bit of sweet to, as a chef, as a cook, to make things balanced and appealing to the people. So the amount of syrup that we're going to put in, and I'm just going to measure this out because I want to be careful with it, is, let me just check my thing. It's an 1/8 a cup, which is actually super tiny. So I'm just going to use a tablespoon and go from there. We'll taste the dressing and see if it tastes sweet enough for your taste. It may or may not, but just think about an 1/8 a cup of syrup over the course of, spread out in portion sizes over the whole dish, and it's like just a flavor at that point. So that works out nicely. And then the next thing we want to put in here is ginger. I really encourage you guys to get fresh ginger root. It's worth it, and it's easy. You can just use a paring knife and slice off the skin, or you can use a spoon and just go like this on the skin, and it will peel up nice and easy, so you retain more of the flesh inside. So I went ahead and chopped up a 1/4 cup of fresh ginger, and I just finely diced it. So it's just, cutting in strips and then crosswise strips, and then just letting your knife just do this nice rocking, rolling motion on the cutting board, and then get it to the minced degree that you like. So remember, if the ginger is fresher and it cuts really nicely, that means it's probably more potent. And as you guys know, ginger is a little bit spicy. I love using fresh ginger because it's also a major anti-inflammatory, and it helps stimulate motility in the GI tract. So I'm not saying this is a constipation cure, not that kind of motility. I'm talking about motility in terms of just moving the digestive system along neurologically. So what we're going to do is I'm adding some of the ginger, and again, I'm going to add just a portion, just again to see how spicy it ends up being. Then the next thing on here is tamari, and tamari is made from soybeans, if you're not familiar with that. Some of you are avoiding soy for various reasons, and so there's an alternative that you can have, and that's this. It's coconut aminos, and it's not listed on the recipe, but I use these all the time. It's really it's a great alternative. It's a little bit sweet and a little bit salty, just exactly like soy sauce, but with no soy. It does have a little more of a coconut undertone. If you don't like coconut, you probably won't like this, but I haven't met a person yet that doesn't like this. So I'm going to measure this out, and we're looking for a 1/4 cup. So let me swap us around here. Okay, so, and the reason also you want to think about this is salty is because you're not going to add actual salt to the dish unless it needs it. But this usually provides enough of that salty flavor. So here's a 1/4 cup, and that's going in. This is also really great to use if you're making vegetables. Steam your vegetables so that you don't have to overcook them, and then toss them in oil and put a few spritzes of this on top, and they're delicious, especially if you're using the green leafy vegetables. That's a nice way to take a little bit of bitterness out of them and make them more palatable and enjoyable. So it's got a lot of uses. The next thing we're going to put in here is sesame oil, and I really do encourage you to make the effort to find a toasted sesame seed oil, and ideally you want it to be organic so it's clean, and it adds a lot of depth of flavor because of being toasted. But remember, it's very, very strong, so you don't want to just kind of randomly add this. You want to make sure that you follow the recommendations. So we've got 1 tablespoon, so I'm going to pour that in here, and it says another teaspoon, so we're just going to do a smidge more. Okay, so far this is what we've got going on. And then the next ingredient is sriracha sauce. And this tends to be a little bit spicy. I was really excited to see this in the store. It's an organic brand from Big Tree, which is the same as the coconut aminos. And it's one of the cleaner ones. You have to watch out sometimes with sriracha, you're gonna see that they'll add some kind of sugar to it. So always look at your ingredients, not just at the nutrition facts, but also look at what is actually in that item and see if you can recognize it may not have any grams of sugar on the label, but in the ingredients it'll have some form of non-absorbed sugar potentially, like sucralose is one that's been popping up quite a bit. So look for that and see if you want to check out this brand, you can, or others that I'm sure are out there. And this is a blend of concentrated juice and spices like cayenne. So like I said, it can be pretty hot, but it adds, again, just a nice undertone. So that's this sweet, salt, spicy, sour. We're just going for all of it. So I'm measuring out a tablespoon of this right now and putting in here, and then just a smidge more. And just opening that makes me feel like I'm actually cooking, because it's got such a really beautiful aromatic smell. And oftentimes you'll see sriracha sauce paired with a toasted sesame oil. It's more common, I think, in Asian dishes, but it's really a great combination. So I encourage you to go the extra mile and get that. And then the last thing we're gonna add is some some olive oil. I think on some of the versions you guys may have seen, it said canola oil. I'm sorry, that was a mistake. I don't recommend canola oil in general because it's high in pro-inflammatory omega-6. It's oftentimes a genetically modified crop. And so we want to steer clear of that and just go with something really pure and fantastic. So this is half a cup of the olive oil. And again, that seems like a lot to me. So I'm just going to go a little bit lighter on it to see how things shake out. So just under that. So remember, cooking is an art. It's, looking at a recipe and then thinking about how is it going to work for you? What are your tastes? Do you like things a little sweeter? Do you like a little spicier? How is it going to best suit you? And so now I'm just whisking everything together. And I tend to like to make the dressing first in a dish. The reason why is because it gives it a chance to blend and for all the seasonings to mix. If you're using any dried herbs in your dressing, then that's especially nice because the herbs need to soak up the oil or other liquid that's in your dressing and soften and then release their flavors. So I just like to get the dressing made first and let it sit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop a little bit on my finger and take a quick little taste test of that. And the first thing I'm getting is that it needs a little bit more salty, believe it or not. So I'm just going to add, where did it go? Just a smidge more of this coconut amino. And again, that's probably just my taste, and it's different. And I'm actually going to add just a smidge more of maple syrup because I think it does need a little more sweet as well. So I'm going to mix that all in together. It's not spicy at all. The sriracha sauce, when it's by itself, I personally find it to be a little spicy, but you guys may not. Again, someone's sensation. I've had people order Thai hot at a restaurant and say, oh, it's not really bad. And then there's me ordering no spice because I can't seem to handle it. So there you can see how we've got just a nice blend here. And then we're just going to go over the ingredients. Otherwise, this is romaine lettuce, and I've got this finely shredded. The way I do that is I take the romaine lettuce and I roll it up like a tube and then cut along the opposite side. And so you're cutting like this down the romaine, and gives it this julienne look, and then you can cut it across if you want it to be smaller, and it's really pretty. It's a really attractive way to use lettuce in a salad, especially something like this. And then what we've got over here is red pepper, julienne carrots, 2 colors, purple and yellow underneath, and then julienne cucumbers. That's from the English cucumber, so it's not as many seeds. And then here we've got scallions, julienne, radish, and some fresh cilantro. So as I mentioned, probably one of the most challenging things in getting this recipe made is just chopping the ingredients. And what I was thinking when I was chopping is it's such a nice time to just calm down and relax. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts while I was prepping this meal, and it's just a act of love to take care of yourself in this way. And you can also bring other people into the kitchen with you, because we all end up in the kitchen anyway, right? It's the busiest room in the house. Even when we're not eating, we all just tend to like to congregate in there and have a cup of tea or, manage things. So have someone cook with you and prep with you. And sometimes I find the best conversations come about when you're side by side with somebody. So there's something about not looking directly at someone that allows you a little more space to think and feel comfortable. And then things can easily flow between you. So that's just a quick little observation of what I've seen happen in my kitchen and friends who shared the same with me. So now what we're going to do is we're going to blend in the dressing with the noodles. So here's the noodles, and as I blend it in, I'm just going to whisk it to make sure that it stays more emulsified. And there we go, voila. And then take your tongs or silverware, in this case. I'm using a fork and a big spoon. And I'm just tossing the noodles in the dressing so they get coated and delicious. And this is a nice salad transition from summer into fall because it's a little heavier with the noodles in there, but it's still served cold because, as we all know here, even though it's fall, it's still just under 100 degrees. So here we go. We've got everything nicely tossed and coated, and it has a really nice aromatic smell to it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is mix in the lettuce. So we'll add that, and again, toss that in so everything gets coated nicely. And once again, you can see with this salad, the different colors and the vegetables really make the dish pop. So if you want, you can make this dish different times, and you can use any different colored carrot, any different colored bell pepper, even radishes, although I don't know this time of year, but in the summer I was seeing they call them Easter egg radishes, and they come in pink, white, and I think there's a red in there, but it's like a really pale red, really pretty. So think about that too, like within the normal foods you buy, can you buy something within that group that has a different color to it? That means it's got different polyphenols in it, which are compounds that help us stay healthy and feed our guts. Okay, you guys, so this is mixed really nicely. So now you can see I've got the tossed romaine in with the noodles. And then next what I want to do, and the way this dish is described on the recipe is to lay this out on a platter and then decorate it with the vegetables. I tend to be one of those people that I just like everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in my cucumber, my red bell pepper, a handful of carrots. Also in this recipe it's suggested that you roast the carrots. You certainly can do that. I decided not to do it because I wanted to enjoy the taste of the carrot raw, because I was using these multicolored carrots, the purple and the yellow, just are really nice flavors on their own. Okay, so here we go. We've got all those in here. And some of you may be thinking, how long would this dish last once you've made it? And my guess is a couple days. So the noodles will last a little longer, but once you top the veggies, they probably are gonna stay crisp and enjoyable for about 2 days. So you could have the noodles in advance, dress them, and then just chop veggies as you go if you wanted to do it that way. Or you could make a big serving if you know everyone's gonna be eating it at that setting, and just a little bit for leftover for later. So that's up to you guys. All right, so now we've got just a gorgeous looking, Whole Foods ready looking salad. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is give it some garnish, a little bit of love. So this is where you get to be creative, and you get your scallions, and this is the tops and the bottoms. For those of you who are following a lower FODMAP diet, you just take the tops. And then I'm going to sprinkle in these nice julienne radishes on top of it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add these radishes, and then, because I can see how they're taking over, and I want to mix them into the dish. So I'm just going to give it another little bit of tossing love. And this is fun to do, you guys. I mean, cooking is therapy, I think. And there's nothing better. I mean, well, there are probably a few things, but it's just a great feeling to open up your fridge the next day and go, oh, wow, I have all this just delicious food ready at my fingertips. So I'm not tempted to eat processed food that I know doesn't make me feel that great. And instead, you can have real whole food. That's really the goal of this class, is to help you feel confident and comfortable having real whole food. Okay, so now that that's done, I've got my fresh cilantro. This is one of my favorite herbs. It's great for detoxifying the body and adding a ton of flavor. There are some people that do not tolerate cilantro at all, and I respect that. And it's a genetic variation where they simply cannot process it, and it comes out to them as dirt. So if those are people around you, then it really isn't like, oh, come on, try it, you'll be okay. They just simply can't. So we have to respect everyone's dietary needs and genetic taste and variability. Okay, so this is now completely done. Voila. So you can see it's really easy to assemble this. You can make it the dressing in advance even, and then just shake it up at the last minute to apply it. If you wanted, you could add some sliced almonds on top of here. I think that would go really well if you wanted a little extra crunch in your salad, which I tend to like doing. Or you could even add some pumpkin seeds. It's just some raw, unsalted green pepitas. I think that would also be lovely in here. So very easy to make. If you want to make the whole batch, then go for it, and then do as I said, like portion it out, have your vegetables ready on the side, change the vegetables up as you like. You could steam some asparagus and then put that in cold. You could do cabbage slices. Really, it's just up to you how creative you want to get and what feels good. So with that being said, if you want more information about all things kitchen and cooking, you'd like to be in a community of people that are doing the same thing, then please join us. Go online to the Lifescape site, and you'll be able to click through and become a member of the Healthy Kitchen, Healthy You Club. And we're growing all the time, so you'll get all kinds of extra benefits and video posts and things like that, and hopefully some inspiration to continue this whole food way of living. So that's it for now, you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and joining me today. If you have any feedback, please send it to me at dana@lifescapepremier.com, and I'll be happy to address it. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next month. Until then, be well.